What if I told you a fundamental truth about success, one that nobody ever shares, that could literally shift your entire life? What if most of what you were taught about achievement, motivation, and progress was more myth than method? What if the real keys to lasting success are hidden, not because they don't exist, but because they shatter comfort? This isn't about hacks. It's about exposing lies and stepping into truth. Because success isn't delivered with systems, it's built with identity. Once your inner code changes, your outer world must follow. Let's be clear, most remain stuck not because they lack resources, but because they never reshape themselves. They chase goals. They wait for clarity. They beg for validation. But success isn't found in chasing. It's found in burning the old you. Every goal crushes old identity if identity resists. Most quit before identity shifts. That is the silent trap. Myth number 1. Motivation carries you forward. Truth. Motivation fades fast. Discipline stays longer. Myth number 2. Talent sets the elite apart. Truth. Consistency outlasts natural gifts. Myth number 3. Clarity must come before action. Truth. Action creates clarity through chaos. What if these lies shaped your life so tightly that you never knew you were living them? What if success lies behind the fear, the friction, the very discomfort you've been trying to avoid? That fire inside you may have been dimmed by doubt, by patterns, by passive belief, but it can be reignited. This video is your ignition protocol. Shift your mind dramatically, and your life must follow. Phase 1. Identity reprogramming every morning begins with a commitment. I am not who I was. You refuse old narratives. You reject signals of stagnation. You declare, I define my worth through execution. I don't wait for permission. I honor my vision daily. You journal not to complain, but to diagnose the lies you believed. I'm not ready, I'll fail. Then you rewrite the truth. I start now. Failure teaches. Clarity comes. You then stand in front of the mirror, eyes steady, posture firm, affirming, I am becoming. I don't chase outcomes. I embody purpose. I face fear with calm resolve. These declarations aren't pep talk, they're neural coding. The words you speak aloud begin to overwrite your subconscious script. Feed your mind strategic input, books that expand beyond comfort, essays that challenge your worldview, reflections that illuminate your blind spots, affirmation calls that build internal fire. I operate from vision, not emotion. I obey my identity. At first, these affirmations might feel foreign. They don't match your default self. That's good. Repetition makes them familiar. That is how identity rewiring begins. You place belief in your rituals more than your excuses. The early days will feel strange. Doubt will whisper. Comfort will beckon. Sleep will seem sacred. But that's the furnace. You resist. You show up. You renew. And over time, you don't ask if you will do it. You already are someone who does it. The vapor of intention solidifies into action. The habits form identity. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can, you think you can't, you're right. Ford didn't wait for the world to validate. He declared identity aligned with vision. Then he executed. That pattern defeats 97%. You're not chasing results, you're dismantling doubt. You're not proving to others. You're proving to yourself. The truth about success that nobody tells you is this. It begins when you rewrite who you believe you are. You don't wait for opportunities. You orient for opportunity. You don't hope for progress. You produce proof. You don't negotiate with distractions. You negotiate with focus. And when this fire inside starts burning, slow burn or fast, you will stop being impressed by view count or likes. You'll be impressed by your own alignment. That is the ignition phase that transforms average effort into unstoppable direction. Asterisk, asterisk, you've burned the old version of yourself. You've begun rewriting your identity daily. Now it's time to build the foundation that sustains that transformation. Physical discipline as commitment. Because the mind alone cannot carry identity. The body must embody it. Every day for the next 90 days, you transform your physical vessel into evidence of your resolve. This isn't about aesthetics, it's about authority. You wake and you move. Not for vanity, not for approval, but to prove to yourself you obey your word. Movement is your language for loyalty to transformation. Pick a modality: running, cold exposure, resistance training, long walks in silence, short explosive sprints. It doesn't matter what you do, only that it hurts enough to signify you're investing and disciplined enough that you refuse to quit. 30 to 60 minutes minimum. If you intend to skip, do half the time with twice the intensity. No negotiation. Why painful starts matter. It trains your system not to collapse under stress. Discomfort becomes normal. Weakness becomes a habit you resist. With each movement, you send a message to every cell. We obey. Your body stops being passive and becomes anchor, posture, presence. Future discomfort ceases to terrify because your system expects it and has adapted. Movement does more than build muscle. It builds posture, presence, containment. When you step into a room, you don't just enter, you occupy. That posture ripples through your mind. Walk away from discipline and watch fragmentation follow. But show up daily, no matter the mood, and your mind learns. Reliability is non-negotiable. This is also where your mind learns to feel. They lie when they tell you mental strength comes before physical strength. They are wrong. Physical discipline rewires your mind faster than philosophy. Pain forces presence. Resistance doesn't allow slipping into default arrogance or fluff. It demands focus, breath, grit, presence. Mental toughness becomes mental clarity. Track your movement. Journal how your body felt, how your mind rebelled, how you silenced resistance. Log it. When you see 10 entries in a row, your subconscious registers continuity. You no longer struggle to feel consistent. You know you are consistent. This pillar also locks you into respect for effort. You don't reward yourself with comfort. You respect effort by allowing tension. You don't chase comfort. You chase calibration. Because most failures are not due to lack of talent, but due to capitulation to ease. You will not surrender. Every day, you close your movement block with reflection and affirmation. I obey through discomfort. I do not shrink when fear arrives. I rise in resistance. This affirms deeply your iron code. You're not an abandoner. You're an executor. You're not carrying excuses anymore. You're carrying identity. On day 30, your body holds memory, not fatigue. On day 60, your posture exudes authority. On day 90, you wear your movement history as silent proof. That changes the way you carry your mission. It changes how people perceive you, even before you say a word. Discipline begets clarity. Activity begets presence. Posture equals energy. You build routine in sweat, and then you channel the energy into your mind and mission. This is not optional. It's essential. Success doesn't respect untrained vessels. If your identity is shifting, your body must catch up. If you claim transformation, your physical world must mirror it. And through daily movement, small or big, you calibrate both. You have remade your mind. You have forged your body. Now it's time to anchor that transformation with execution. This is mission execution as a sacred habit. For 90 straight days, you will devote at least 90 uninterrupted minutes to the craft, the creation, the contribution only you can provide. What lies within your discomfort becomes visible through consistent action. Each block begins with clarity. You plan the day. You choose your work. You turn off distraction. No phone. No notifications. No internet dopamine loops. You are present. With one task until it's done, or until the timer rings and you've done more than you thought you could. This is where greatness is built, not in emotion, but in disciplined concentration. Why 90 minutes? It's enough to elevate you above amateurism and build mastery, but short enough that you don't collapse into overwhelm. 90 minutes daily becomes 105 hours in 70 days, the time required to change trajectory. This is where legacy begins. Incrementally, reliably, unbreakably in these sessions, you learn to respect your standards. You learn the difference between busy work and build work. You train your brain to value execution more than excitement. You accept that clarity arrives in action, not before it. Doubt shrinks when work grows. Weakness flees when consistency arrives. When tasks enlarge, you don't narrow your standards. You deepen them. If you finish a draft, you revise. If you struggle, you refine. If you fail, you restart. You do not stop. You persist. Execution becomes your identity, not because you feel capable, but because you are obligated. Reflect on. Icons. Henry Ford constructed his systems daily. Edison tested thousands of ideas, each iteration building toward success. They didn't wait for outer validation. They affirmed identity through action. That is your blueprint. Now dot your environment. Must serve this block. Create space digital minimalism. Your desk, tools, pages, journal, all are sacred. You speak to your environment. This is creation space. I build. I don't scroll. You train your body not only to stand, but to sit with intent. You train your mind not only to seek inspiration, but to manufacture it through action. Eventually, you don't need reminders. The space becomes your ritual. You'll battle distraction. You'll crave novelty. You'll justify shortcuts. You'll debate time. That's normal. But you don't negotiate. You steer through the resistance. With rules, if you break the block, you rebuild it tonight. If you pause mid-effort, you restart when you return. Your ritual doesn't wait for comfort. It demands alignment. Each day after the block. You journal your progress, not to procrastinate, but to evaluate. Where did you dominate? Where did you stall? What obstacle popped inside? What insight emerged? Then plan the next session. This aligns execution with reflection. Momentum is no longer guesswork. It's guided growth. By day 30, deep work becomes a habit, not a grind. By day 60, you crave it. It's easier to build than to be idle. Clarity no longer waits. You generate it. Consistency becomes presence. You don't chase validation. You trust the completion itself. When you speak, people listen, not because they heard hype, but because your energy carries your track record. You don't need explanations. Your effort precedes your insight. Your presence is impact. This is where identity meets execution. You say you are the kind of person who finishes what you start. You live it daily. No excuses. Because in the void between intention and outcome, you close the gap with disciplined, deep work. Results follow execution. Inspiration follows consistency. Today the challenge isn't whether you have enough time, it's whether you have left integrity. You build who you are, but you refuse to avoid. You embody work so deeply that hesitation becomes irrelevant. That's how thought becomes system. That's how purpose becomes momentum. That's how your new identity becomes undeniable. Asterisk, asterisk. You have transformed your mind. You have trained your body. You have executed deep work. Now the final pillar stands. Before you, no negotiation. This is not just a principle. It is your unbreakable contract with the person you are becoming. Every single day you refuse negotiation, not with time, not with mood, not with tears or excuses. When you make a commitment, your word seals your identity. Understanding no negotiation means giving up permission to compromise. When you say you will rise early no matter the storm, you do it. When you promise yourself to work with clarity, no matter the distraction, you do it. When you pledge to train no matter the fatigue, you do it. You do not ask permission from your circumstances. You override circumstances with discipline. Everywhere decision weakens, identity collapses. So you must eliminate hidden exit routes. No, I'll start again next week. No, maybe tomorrow will be better. No, it was a good reason. Because when you leave those loopholes open, part of you secretly plans retreat. But transformation doesn't happen in safety nets. It happens when you burn the bridge behind you. That is the covenant you design now. You write this code. I obey my word even if no one watches. I act regardless of emotion. I honor my future self more than my comfort. Then you speak it each morning. You speak it each night. You breathe it in the mirror. Later, when resistance speaks, you don't argue, you apply your code. Your behavior becomes predictable to yourself. Your system matches your standard. Consistently choosing identity over convenience forms internal trust. That trust becomes non-negotiable. You are someone who can be counted on even when nobody is watching. That is rare. That is magnetic. That is leadership rooted in character, not applause. When weariness arrives, your code is stronger. When confusion arises, your code clarifies. When failure visits, your code demands reform before resignation. You don't explain setbacks. You upgrade systems. Discomfort becomes a benchmark, not a warning. If it's not uncomfortable, you're not growing. If the path feels safe, you're not pushing hard. That is the margin of greatness. Progress is never convenient. It demands friction. In your daily reflection, you report to your covenant. You ask, did I honor my word today? If no, they make no excuses. They rebuild tonight. If yes, they double down tomorrow. That is how momentum compounds. That is how your internal economy builds agency. Not entitlement. No negotiation isn't about being inflexible. It's about being consistent. It's not about perfection. It's about fidelity to the standard you set. You don't bluff at motivation. You force your mind to obey your decision. This pillar unifies the others. Mindset, body, execution. They now operate through an identity that refuses compromise. You no longer debate options. You command them. You don't negotiate with fear. You invoke faith. You don't parley with doubt. You enforce belief. By day 90, you no longer require motivation. You have outlasted it. You no longer ask if you will follow through. You already have. You no longer entertain quitting. You enforce continuity. Every day this code operates, you grow more rooted in purpose. You embody your identity. You don't drift. You remain. You execute. No negotiation is your strongest ally. It defies distraction. It opposes ambiguity. It outlives negotiation fatigue. It extinguishes excuses. When people look at you, they sense solidity, not in your physical form or charisma, but in the way you treat your own word as sacred. That is power. That is transformation. That is what most don't tell you about success. You don't wait for permission. You execute your standard without negotiation. You have forged your mind, hardened your body, executed deep work, and embodied a code of no negotiation. Now you stand at the threshold of transformation. What remains are the 3 walls, 3 tests that separate those who walk away from those who become. Passing them is non-optional. They exist to prove your commitment. Wall 1. The discomfort threshold, around day 7. This is the moment where momentum threads begin to fray. It's early. Your fire is still fresh, but fatigue, distraction, old excuses arise. The mind whispers, You earned a break. The body aches. You feel novelty fading. This is by design. This wall tests whether you can show up again without the high of startup energy. Your choice here: silence the temptation. You rise again. You move again. You execute again. Not because it feels good, but because identity demands it. This is where consistency becomes non-negotiable. Wall 2, the monotony barrier, around day 30. The novelty is gone. The routine stiffens. Progress feels invisible. Doubt sneaks in. Is this even working? This wall challenges your vision. The effort doesn't match the feeling anymore. But that's the signal. You're building something larger than immediate returns. Navigate this wall by leaning into the rituals. Obey your code. Hold your practice. Do it even when the energy evaporates. Momentum isn't built in bursts. It's grown through the grind. Wall 3. Identity shift around day 60. You feel different. Your posture changes. Discomfort softens. No one congratulates you in the night hours, but you feel armored. Old habits begin to feel foreign. Some relationships fracture. Familiar energy can't keep pace with your growth. This is not chaos, it's emergence. Many quit because they don't understand that identity must shift before outcomes. At this wall, you stop chasing transformation, you embody it. You don't look backward. You carry forward with quiet certainty. Vision at day 90. At 90 days, you look in the mirror and the fire sees itself. You don't recognize the man you were, and you don't feel compelled to remember him. Your posture exudes quiet power. Your presence signals purpose. You move before motivation calls. Your identity is built, not claimed. You no longer speak about who you will be. You act like who you are. You are uncheckable because you have done what most wouldn't. Critics, challenges, chaos, they reveal you, but no longer define you. Your internal code, your rituals, your vision, all of it pierces the superficial and carves legacy. Affirmation, loop inside your mind. I refuse comfort disguised as growth. I walk in alignment even when no one watches. My identity precedes my results. I burn the old script, my future is forged. These phrases aren't filler. They're tribal declarations to your subconscious. Repeated enough, you don't just believe them, you become them. That repetition moves identity from fiction into reality. If you're serious, begin now. Rewatch this video daily until these words stop feeling strange. Let them dwell in your nervous system. Set your non-negotiable rituals in your calendar. Mindset input, 1 hour daily. Movement ritual, 30 to 60 min daily. Deep work block 9-0. Min daily. End of day reflection, 10-minute nightly. Honoring these 4 pillars every single day, regardless of mood, noise, doubt, or comfort, is your contract. Start with day 1. If you miss it, don't falter. Rebuild it before the sun sets. If rejection comes, stand firmer. If fear strikes, breathe deeper. Your transformation has already begun. You simply haven't met the person you're becoming. Growth is not guaranteed, but persistence is inevitable. Let others talk about legacy. You become it. You don't chase success. You embody it. Stand now. Claim your life. Begin.